listening to Labrador Legacy. Today you're going to hear from Mary Ann Penashue from Mud Lake. You will hear how she was born in a tent and paints on canvas with different tools.
My name is Ann Penashue. I live in Sheshatshiu, and I'm self-employed. I do art. I make art.
When were you born?
I was born in September 1964. I was born in my mother's tent in Birch Island. That's like in Goose Bay. That's where my mom's tent was.
What was your childhood like?
My childhood was it's different compared what you have now. At that time we didn't have vehicles. We lived on a tent. We lived in a tent, I mean. And my childhood was it was it was hard work. Everybody had to, even children had to work. It was like fetching the water for the tent, bringing wood for my grandma, and whenever there was to take like the bones, what was left that we couldn't eat, I was always asked to take it to the ice and then put it in fish hole on ice and dump the bones, the animals that were that 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 was from or lived in the water, like fish bones and beaver bones. I always had to take them so the dogs won't get at them. So we believe that the bones, like the sea animals, will come back. So nothing was thrown away in. So it was forbidden for a dog to eat the bones, animal bones.
Did you have any siblings?
My mom had 10 children, but the older two, a girl and a boy, passed away because there was no vaccinations before, so they died very young age. So there was 8 of us, but I didn't live with my siblings. I lived with my grandma and my auntie, my 2 aunties. So they were my sisters. So it wasn't. Later, my 2 little cousins came, lived with my grandma. So it wasn't like chaos. It was just right.
What were some things that you learned as a child?
I remember my grandmother always said to me not to make fun at people, not to make a comment on people's appearance. Like, she would always say, because if it's something negative, don't say it. Just keep it to yourself. She said that's a negative. She said that's not a good way to live. And she also said that I shouldn't steal. She always tell me it's not good to steal. So I never steal. Only once. So it's still I still remember that. I should have never though that even though it wasn't a big deal, but to me it is. It was something that I shouldn't, because I knew I could have put it back and not take it because I didn't need it, but I took it with me anyway. But she was right. It was not good to steal. No, I was an adult actually, a young mother. I went shopping, and then by accident, I didn't know I had two pans. There were two there. But as I got to the cashier, I noticed there's two. And because I was packing my stuff, and she didn't notice it. So I just let it pass. So I put it in, which I shouldn't have done.
Did people in your community help each other?
Yes, even though there's a lot of issues, like negative things in our community, that people are suffering from sickness, like diabetes is really high in our community, and drugs breaks up family, and it brings misery, even the mothers like me. And but when I notice when someone is seeking help, asking for help, I notice people just give their hand to whoever needs help. And if somebody has a new house and they have nothing, I notice people give away what they don't need anymore so this person can have it. And when there's a sickness and somebody's dying, there's a lot of support. Yeah, that's it was always like that. I remember that as a little girl.
We go back to what you learned as a child for a second. What did you learn about living in a tent full time?
What I learned that you need to we need a lot of wood to prepare for the heavy snowfall or a storm, and we need to preserve. We learn to preserve, or I learned to preserve by watching them how they did it, to preserve food. Like every summer, my grandma she used to have a fireplace outside, an open fireplace, and she used to, how do I say it? She built where she can hang her meat, so the meat doesn't go bad. So she always, every morning when I wake up, I'll see her outside sitting next to her fireplace, and I remember she used to have like, you know, the ground that's in the woods, it's a small, and it's almost like it's a wet, yes. And then she puts it so the fire is smoky and it doesn't make flames, just smoke. So that smoke was preserving the food, and so the flies would get at it, or any other animals. So and then she would pack it in a dry fabric and sew it together, and she always put it in a cool nighttime. Then she put it in a cool place where animals don't get at it, or the dogs. So that was I learned that by watching her.
What were your favorite things to do?
My favorite thing was when in the summer, we lived a lot in Mud Lake, that little place. You ever been there? Yeah. And there's a lake there where Innu people used to camp and go hunting. And there was a sandy beach, and that's where my grandparents always camped. And we in the summertime, that's where we just hang around on the beach, and we just do drawing on the sand, or just go in the water and just enjoy the water. even though I didn't learn to swim, but my grandma always made sure we didn't go too far out. And she used to tell me, I guess that was her way of keeping me safe. She would always say, "You don't want to go very far because there could be a fish that might want to bite you." Even though there were no fish that would want to bite you in that lake. So,
What games did you play?
what games? We used to play hopscotch a lot, and tag, and is that what it's called, tag? Yeah. And we used to play. We used to play with bat, and we used to make a ball, like a soft ball with lots of socks, and just tie it up, make it round. We used that as a ball because we didn't have a ball, but we made it. And then we made our own little base, and we just played. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. And we used to take walks, go for walks.
Who were your role models?
My grandparents, because we were away from the community a lot. The only time we came in the community was Christmas, and maybe for a little bit on in the summer. And then we would always go back after Christmas, and when the ice is all gone, we would go back to the community just for a little while. And then the rest of the time we spent in a tent. So I learned a lot just by watching them. It's just there's a lot of things that they didn't want me to do, like maybe touch the knife, work with a knife or an axe. But just by watching them, you automatically, you just know what to do because you've seen it so many times. So when I grow up and have my own family, so I knew all that. So it was just there.
Did you spend much time on the land?
Yes. I think from when I was born until when I was in Katimavik, I was in Katimavik. Yeah, even though I didn't go to school very much. School for me was, it wasn't, not for me, my grandparents, it wasn't important. Yeah. So they were focusing on teaching me their way of life. So school wasn't important to them because they didn't have that. So they didn't. So it was their way of lifestyle was our way of like survival in the past. So later I learned after I had my kids. Before that, I went to the university. I think I was like almost turning 18. And then I was away from the community for 9 months. That was because I wanted to experience because I didn't know that part of life. So we have to travel away from home for 9 months. So that was I remember crying every day. I cried every day. But I stayed and made friends, but it wasn't the life that I would choose. But it was a good experience for me. Yeah. And I knew that I remember feeling really like, because I didn't have the education, they were so educated, even though we were all the same age, but they were educated. They English was really good, and sometimes I didn't understand what they were saying, so I always repeat and ask, and I remember feeling that maybe I I don't know. I think I learned it wasn't good feeling. I felt that my self-esteem wasn't good. It was kind of low because I didn't have the knowledge they knew, and they were totally different than me because I was raised differently and they. But now today, I feel they didn't have the knowledge I had, but I wasn't thinking that way because I was so young. I always felt maybe they are better than me, but that wasn't true.
What was your favorite part of being on the land?
My favorite part was because my granddad would always go hunting. I remember him leaving before we got out from our beds. He would always be getting ready, packing his stuff to get ready to leave. I didn't like that. I wanted him to stay because we didn't see him. He leaves really early in the morning and he comes back almost like when it's about to dark. And at the evenings when I see him on the other side of the lake, and I always waited for him to, if I can see him. And as soon as I see him, I always remember my grandma said, "Can you put the tea, like get the tea ready?" That was the best part for me. I put the tea on the stove, and then I waited for him to come closer so I can go to him, walk towards him, and help him with his stuff. And he would. It was like I was so, because he was a very lovable person and he loved kids. And I remember when sometimes he would be there'd be a snow on his because he was wearing wool a lot here by next to his because they came with his moccasins. And he would sit down in a tent, and then I would untie his moccasins and pull out his take them off and pull out his insoles and dry them. That was my work. I was happy to do that because he was staying home for the evening, and we would have supper because my grandma would always cook something before he comes home. And as soon as we see him resting, and we'll be lying to our beds too, and then we say, "Now tell us a story." And he would always tell us a legend or something that he experienced when he was young. That was the best part, I think. And then he would just fall asleep, and then we would say, "Wake up, continue with your story." That was nice. I missed that. I remember he told us about when this child, a little boy, was his hair was full of lice because the mother didn't know how to get rid of them. So what she did in the morning was one day that she decided that she was going to leave her son. So they packed their stuff and then packed their sleigh and took the tent out, and the little boy would keep saying, "What about me? What about me? Are you going to get me ready?" And the mother would say, "Yes, hang on." But then she never helped him. They left him under where they had their tent. And then the little boy was crying and crying. Nobody came back for him. And then something or some spirit, I think they say it's a guardian that came for him. And the little boy, because he was I guess he didn't look like a normal person because he was bigger. Physically, like he saw him as a big person. So that scared him, and he started yelling, like calling for his mom. "Somebody's here," and I don't like, I guess he didn't feel safe, and said to him, I think it's evil. And then this guardian came to him and he said, I'm not evil, it's your mom that's evil. She left you here. And then, so the little boy started to, like, because he was talking to the guardian was talking to him, and he felt more at peace with him, towards him, I guess, like, didn't feel threatened by him. And he said, first we're gonna take out all your lice from your head. And the little boy agreed. And he said, at the end, he said, I'm gonna save one female and one male lice, because they said that if he had killed all of them, there would have been no lice in the world. So that, and then he after that, he put him on his shoulder and took him to found his parents. And then he dropped them off to and the mother, I guess he took him down his shoulders, and the boy ran towards his mother's tent. And the mother said, who brought you here? Like same, it's the same thing that the little boy said. He thought it was evil, but it wasn't. And then the mother said, who brought you here? Was it something evil? And the guardian said, no, there's no evil here. I'm not evil, but what you did was evil. And so he left. The guardian said goodbye to the little boy. And the little boy really, because he got to trust him, and he didn't want him to leave him, and he started crying. But he, because the guardian believed that it was the right thing for the little boy to stay with the parents, so he left. But the little boy was sad that he had to leave. And I'm only telling you how I remember it. Somebody else might tell it differently, but that's how I remember.
What was the most important part to know to be safe?
On the land, to stay safe. We were always, I remember at a young age, we were taught not to wander away, like to go in the woods on your own, or play by the water by yourself. Like if there's a canoe there, you're not allowed to go near it, or you'll float away. Safety was really important, so we were always trained to be safe, and especially in the woods. When we walked in the woods, my grandma always said, don't run, there's too many sticks. Yeah, so safety was always important. And when we're eating, she made sure, like, you know how kids are relaxed and they like to lay down and start chewing on their food. My grandma always said, don't do that, it's not safe. So we always sat around and just ate together and took our time. Yeah, that was, I guess she wanted to make sure we didn't choke on our food. Yeah. So, and I always remember this when I have my grandkids eating and they're chewing on their food and they're rushing, and I always say, take your time, like break it up into little tiny pieces. That's how I always do it, because I learned it from her.
Was anything tough about them days?
The tough part for me was when we come to the community, because there was, at that time for me growing up, it was a lot of drinking, and I knew what that meant, because there was a lot of pressure, I find, for my grandparents because their friends were here and they were making homebrew, and also when they had money, they would buy beer. That was hard because it wasn't them. They were totally different people when they were drinking. That was the saddest part because it made you feel lonely, and I don't know, it just because sometimes there was nothing to eat. It was different. Yeah, there were more. It was different when we were on the land. There were more. We felt we were being looked after more.
What was dating like back then?
It was really scary actually when I was really young because my grandmother wasn't open to talking about it. So I didn't know much. So so when I first had my little boyfriend and like just hugging or kissing, and I would go home and I'll think, maybe I'm pregnant. Maybe I'm pregnant. you know, that's that's how I didn't know anything. Yeah, that was funny. Just that's how I didn't get much information. My husband and I meet when we were really young, so we didn't. I think we were 14, but my grandma didn't approve of him because she knew that I was really young and he was really young. But later on, a couple of years when we got a little bit older, like 17, and then we started dating.
How have things changed since you were little?
Well, I knew when I started having my own family. I had to make my own money, and I remember kids for my kids, school was important, and it was important for them to go on the land as well. Like our kids are grown up now, but when they were still with us, we used to have them. Would take them on the land, like in springtime, maybe a month time or a couple of weeks, so they didn't forget how, or we wanted, because my husband and I both were raised on the land and in the community, so we like living on the land, and we also like living in the community and make like provide for ourselves in the community. So my husband always worked when we are here, and I knew that I wanted to make my own money, and I used my talent. Like I remember my grandfather told me one time he saw me do sketches, and my kids were small, and he used to come and visit me, and then he watched me when I was doing sketches at the table, and then he said, he looked at me and he said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Just practicing my sketches." And then he said to me, he said, "One day you will make a living and you will provide for your children one day." And I didn't take it seriously because I I I just but when I think about it now, because as my kids were older and they were going to school, I had more time to work on my art. So as I continued, I got really good at making paintings, and then I start selling them, and then I remember when I go just before Christmas, I sell more paintings so I can buy my gifts. Yeah, so he was right. My grandfather was right because he was also very talented. Both of them were very talented, even though it wasn't painting, but they made stuff. They made snowshoes, moccasins, and my grandma used to be real good at filling the snowshoes. And she used to make filling the snowshoes with the caribou strings. And then I think she wanted me to do that kind of art, but my interest was always to do paintings.
What are your favorite things to do to pass time now?
I like to paint art. I paint. I because that's how I make my money. I do paintings.
When did you first start creating art?
When I was very young, like as a child, I used to do sketches and just using coloring pencils. But then after I had my my fourth child, that's when I focused doing it full time. So I did it. Actually before I started it, not before. When I did art, I used to do it 7 days a week, but that was just too much because when I make art, it just um, makes me feel positive and makes me feel I accomplished something. So and then one day my daughter said, "You're always doing art every day." So I decided to do it Mondays to Fridays now because and I do it from 9 to 5. Before I used to make art at nighttime as well. Yeah.
What was your favorite kind of art to create?
I started after my grandparents died, and there were the people that was really close to, and not having them around anymore. So, and I was inspired by faces, and because their faces were because their old age showed on their faces, and I really felt it was it was challenging. I like the feeling of being challenged with art. So I start doing faces with because they were my grandparents, and so I because and I had a lot of pictures of them. So I used their faces, and the clothing they wore was traditional. So I did a lot of I still do actually make a lot of art that's people wearing traditional wear and elders. Yeah.
Where did you get inspiration for your artwork?
Just by seeing other work by other people, by artists. Like since we had kids, we travel a lot. We go, we took them places every year, even if it's across Canada. And then I see art in different places we go, and and if I like the art, then I'll say, I like this. I want to try this. Like that's what I always felt.
What do you think the future will be like?
My my hope is that, and I think it will happen, that our where my community is it's so much things happening there, like negative things and the sickness that's there, people like the drugs and people being a lot of people are suffering from diabetes as well. And I think as the kids that are coming, they will want to learn how to take care of themselves, like to prevent diabetes. And I think I don't think I know that my community is not going to be always troubled. It's going to be it's going to be healthy again, because there are so many children that want to see their families to be healthy, and I think that's going to happen one day. I don't think, I know it's going to happen one day. Because nobody wants to be miserable.
What are your hopes for what you will do in the future?
My hopes, I want to make more art. I want to make more time and focus on my art. I want to make it with show my culture through my art, because I feel culture is really important, and the stuff that I learned, that I remember as a little girl, I want to use my art to show that to my grandkids. Like, I want Brody's kids to see my art. So I want to, when she has kids. No, no, not yet.
We're talking about the future.
I remember that my grandfather showed me my husband and I when we were in the country. This is a true story. We were just the two of us. That was a getaway for me and him. And we went on a plane to go on the land. So one day we were in a canoe, and I think we traveled too far out to the river. And when we came back, because it was spring, then the ice was blocking to go out from the river. It was blocking. The river was like this, and we want to get to the lake, but it was blocked. It was full of ice. And so we got off the canoe, and we made a little fire, and we had lunch, and we thought it's going to open up. Like, the ice is going to move, and so we can get out. But it wasn't happening. It was getting dark, and it was getting colder. So we remembered what we learned when we were really young. That my grandfather had said to me, and my husband had learned it as well from his grandfather. You know, in your fire, there's a wood, and the wood turns black with yeah, and it's, my husband took it and then took it to the ice and like just threw it on the ice, and we believe that the ice has spirit like us. And so I remember we were told that the ice don't like the smell of the smoke of a burnt wood, the charcoal. So I think it was maybe like, it seemed like it happened really quickly. All of a sudden, we were just going to go back to next to our fireplace and just wait what's going to happen. But we heard the ice moving, shifting. It was really loud, and it just opened up the ice. So it was true. It is true that the ice don't like the smell of the burnt charcoal and the burnt wood, and it just moved, and it opened it up, and so we got out. So stuff like that, I wanna do it, talk about it through my art. Maybe write little short stories about it.
What do you think about the future of Sheshatshiu and Northwest River?
You know, when I was young, it seemed like the Innu people and Northwest River people, it felt like they were never going to be friends or be close or work together. It felt like that. Because I don't know, because the people in Northwest were different and we were different, and their lifestyle was different. I remember as a young girl, we didn't, if you, on Christmas time, you won't see any Christmas lights in Shesh because at that time, Sheshatshiu people, it wasn't their thing to have Christmas lights or exchange gifts. But I remember looking, I would stand outside my grandmother's house, and I look on this side, and everybody, maybe not everybody, but there were a lot of houses that had Christmas lights outside, like the red and blue and yellow, and everything just looked so pretty at nighttime. So it felt like it didn't bother me, but it was beautiful. But I felt because they were different, and it felt like maybe they had money. We don't have money, but that didn't bother me because I accepted how I was raised. Yeah, I didn't know that you one day that I'll get my education because as I was having babies, so raising a family and going to school and make my own money, and so I could buy the stuff that my family needed. Yeah, it was nothing to do with they weren't trying to be better than Shesh people. It just they were raised differently, and everybody had jobs, but Shehadi was different. Like when in the fall, everybody left. Not everybody, but most of the community went on the land to go back to their traditional life.
What would help Sheshatshiu and Northwest River in the future?
It's nice to see kids. Like I noticed we have Shehadi kids here in this school, in the Northwest River School, and yeah, so it's nothing stopping the Innu kids to come here. So it's nice that they're growing up together and working, learning together. So they can share stories, and I like that. I'm happy that Brody is here, Vera is here, and I have another child coming in September, Maisie. Yeah, it doesn't mean they're not going to learn on the land. They're still, because we still like to go on the land. Yeah, and the gathering at Gull Island. Yeah. So it's really nice to see they're growing up together. Yeah, it's like no one is better than the other.
What is your life advice?
Oh, my advice is don't try to be like other person. Don't try to be like a person. If you feel that person is better than you, don't try to be like them. Just be yourself, and you don't have to prove anything to anyone. And don't try to be like to be better than that person. And just be like show respect to your teacher, your adults. That's what I always tell my granddaughter when she leaves the school. For school, I say, you show respect to your teacher. So because you guys spend more time at the school, and you start from December till June, that's a lot of time going to school. So you show respect to your classmates and your teachers.
What is your advice for getting through tough times?
Tough times, you always go to your person who you're most close to. Sometimes you want to go, if it's in your school, you go to your teacher. If you feel that you can't, you need to tell someone something, go to your teacher or tell your parents, because nobody's going to know how you feel. You have to say what's bothering you, or the problem, it's not going to fix itself, or it's nothing is going to change, because we don't know what directions to take. Sometimes you need what to know what this person has, because your teacher has more experience.
What is your key to happiness?
My key to happiness is to be a good grandma, a good mother. Sometimes it's hard to be a good parent, but at the end of the day, when everybody's asleep and you look at your day and you feel that you did good today, like we did this today with our kids, our grandkids. That's really important. And right now I am very focused on the kids that are living with us at our home right now, the little girls. And they take me away from my art a lot, but I know that that's a good thing as well, to look after, to help with kids, because you're part of their teacher as well. So and they bring happiness, and we get really lonely for them when they're not around.
What is your advice for someone starting out as an artist?
Just keep practicing. There were days that I felt that my art wasn't good enough, but because I enjoyed it so much, I kept doing it. I kept making art until I feel that I got it. Like it's every time when I have when I finish art, and it makes me feel that I have done something for me. And I think it's all, like, for example, a teacher, they work school from 8:30 till it's time to go home when there's no school. It's like, I think it's a similar feeling they have when they had productive day with their students. And parenting is like that too. And doing my art is that too. That's work as well. So that's how I experience.
What's your advice for others wanting to be on the land?
My advice is just go when it's safe to go. Like if the ice is good, some people like winter, and some people like to go in the spring or in the fall or on a weekend. Just keep doing it, because it I think that's our way of rejuvenating your mind and your body. It's like a medicine. Yeah.
So this goes for other artists, but I don't know if it goes for you too. But sometimes when people look at your art when you're done it, they say it's really good. But do you ever just see the mistakes you made? If you made any mistakes, do you just see those, and it like makes you like hurts your brain a bit because you're like.
Yes. Sometimes I see a mistake, but it's not a mistake, because I feel there's artists who are perfectionists, and I feel I'm perfectionist, and I don't like being that way, because it's I don't know. Sometimes you want your art to have its own character. It doesn't have to be perfect all the time.
When will it be okay to go to Nujmeet?
I know me and Mushum like to go out when there's because we like to go on a boat or in a canoe. So because we like to go away from the camp area and then just travel maybe an hour, a couple hours away from the camp area. And so you can see more, and then you can look for more animals and fishing areas. And I know me and my husband, like your grandpa, Mushum, we like to take our food with us and just spend a day and then pick a spot, and then we'll make our lunch there and go fishing or just go hike somewhere in there's a river where we like to fish, and we just walk there. So when the ice is gone, that's a time for us to go. So we can go, because if you go in the middle of the spring because there's still snow and ice is not safe, then you're stuck in your little camp area. And then when you want to go in the woods and it's not really good to use snowshoes, your snowshoes would sink because the snow is so soft, unless you want to go very early while still the snow is hard. Yeah.
Do you ever get painter's block?
Yeah. When you don't know, yeah, sometimes I would sit in front of my canvas, and it's like your mind is just blank. It's like you don't know how to make art. That's how it feels like. Yeah. And then when I know that I'm getting frustrated, so I just leave it and I move on to something else. Like I'll start cooking or go outside, and then you're I don't know why that happens, but it does happen. Yeah.
Do you ever just feel like your mind's blank and like you've thought of something you want to paint, but then it just goes poof and gone?
Yeah. And then you have this in your mind how you're gonna have your art come out, and it doesn't. I try not to be sad about it, and it will come back, and it does. Yeah.
It's kind of two in one. But do you have like a favorite type of paint or a painting style?
I like watercolor. I love watercolor, how they come out. I love them. Yeah.
What do we say at the end of every interview?
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
You've been listening to Labrador Legacy.
Thank you to Arts NL, ArtsSmarts, for funding this program.
We are Rogan, Owen,
Curtis,
Nixon.
Misha,
Caden,
Braylon,
Xavier,
Cody,
Darius,
Noah,
Maddox.
at Lake Melville School.
Thank you for listening.
Please check out our other episodes of Labrador Legacy.